8:33. Thank you for watching the Facebook live stream. Share it around. And after we're done, like I said, go back to the beginning. We interviewed a lot of people this morning, and still more on the way. I wanted to get Christine Boleto from the Guam Chamber of Commerce onto the show. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning.
So I guess we were talking with Ricky, who's the deputy. I know he's a deputy over at GITA, and apparently there was a big meeting yesterday with members of the governor's business advisory council, and so I've watched the news. I'm a fan of KUAM. I saw that Nestor had interviewed you a couple weeks about the lack of dialogue, really, and it's been almost, unfortunately, adversarial between the governor and the Chamber of Commerce. I don't know what
But you had a seat at the table yesterday.
That's what we're told,
right?
Yes. So it's unfortunate because it's we're not trying to be adversarial, and it's one of the things that we've been trying to do is reach out to the administration and ask that we have discussions on what would be most helpful to employees and businesses. Of course, understanding that public health safety is the first priority. We all agree with that. But there's people that have lost their jobs. There are businesses that are shutting down even before the mandatory closure. And so, we were just, trying to have the dialogue and, express our concern and talk about solutions. Yesterday, we were invited to participate in a teleconference. It was organized by David John and Ken Cook from the Bank of Guam. And so we had an opportunity to sit in on that discussion, which was a presentation by Ricky on, pretty much what he talked about earlier is available or is soon to be available, we hope, to businesses and employees.
So it wasn't an exchange of ideas. It was basically, this is our plan, or this is what we've got on our website?
Pretty much. We were asked we were asked if we had questions. Prior to actually this meeting, we as a group had exchanged concerns and brought up sort of suggestions. I believe that was presented to her, but of course she made very clear yesterday that her first priority is public health, and that she asked the businesses to hold on until the funding comes in from the federal government, and that she, along with her team, was going to figure out how that was going to, or how that can be of assistance to the businesses. Naturally, our concern at the current moment is that we don't know how long it's going to take for those initiatives to be put into place. And of course, there is quite a number of private sector employees that are facing payless paydays in the next few weeks. And so we're really concerned. I think from what I've heard from my colleagues in the business community, a lot of the businesses are trying to at least pay on the health insurance, because that's a concern if these folks don't even have, health insurance, and something, they're found to be positive and they can't seek medical treatment. So, in absence of paying them, they're paying their health insurance premiums. Some are not even able to do that. And so the other question and concern that came up is if these employees have already been furloughed or released, how can they avail themselves to the Family Leave Act, especially in light of some of these businesses won't be able to reopen. They, won't have been able to sustain themselves through this period. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. We still have a lot of concerns, but we do hope to continue the dialogue. Once the immediate public health emergency, is kind of subsided, and we can focus on economic recovery. But in the meantime, we're still going to, dialogue and attempt to get some local initiatives in place to help our people in the interim until this funding comes through.
Wow, that is kind of concerning. It sounds like you guys are just waiting. We're told to just wait for
the federal. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this 3 days ago. I asked the governor, "Hey, what are you doing to help these displaced workers?" And her response was, "Hang in there." Hang in
Is
there
that pretty
because
much what-
because Uncle Sam's going to foot the bill for everything, and we're just going to wait until we get this, trillion gajillion federal dollars. In the meantime,
Yeah, and that's what we're being told. But again, we're also bringing up the concerns, and we're really concerned about the people out there that don't have a paycheck coming
Right.
and have bills to pay. Even though there's rental assistance, even though there's talk about mortgages being held, I mean, people need to buy groceries. They need to eat. They need to buy, personal items. And how are they going to be able to pay for that?
right?
And
So when you-
go ahead.
Christina,
when you brought that up,
okay, go
when you brought that up during the teleconference yesterday, what was the response?
We weren't able to. I mean, it wasn't a discussion.
Did they mute
about
you,
that.
Christine? Was it on Zoom?
It was on Zoom, but
Did
we
they-
all muted ourselves so that we could hear what was being said.
Right.
And again, so the meeting started out with the governor sharing, her primary concern with public safety, and then Ricky, provided us with the presentation of what's going to become available. And so, of course, we appreciate, I think everyone appreciates that, there is some initiatives that are coming through, and that, potentially later on we can access this federal relief package. But, of course, again, our immediate concern is what happens in the interim. And so the chamber has been pushing, as you well know, the reduction of the BPT, as well as payment of tax refunds, because right now we're only up to October 2019 payouts. And if there's any way that we can accelerate the payments, especially, just from my experience, January is when we get a lot of the folks who are eligible for earned income credit. A lot of the folks who are really in dire need of their money tend to file in that first couple of months of the fiscal year for their 2019 tax returns. And so, those are the ones that we need to get the money to as quickly as possible.
Right. Christine,
those are the ones. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, just when you guys went in the Zoom and the reveal came that, one of the two advisors on this whole thing was the governor's son, was it a kind of like or were you guys okay with that?
Well, he was the one that I believe him and David John coordinated bringing folks like George Chu, Phil Flores, Brian Artero. There's, a lot of some key business members out there. Mary Rhodes was part of the discussion. So, I mean, I think we appreciated, being able to, at least as the head of the Guam Chamber, we've not even had the opportunity to have that sit down. And so we appreciate, that was coordinated. And then, one of the things that we also discussed is that, understanding, again, public safety is first and foremost. As these executive orders come out that affect the businesses and the people that are employed by them, we ask that we be part of perhaps the review or a discussion before it's issued, so that we could use our networks to get information out. Because, the panic that ensued and right after the first shutdown came, and then the questions, did it apply to restaurants that were doing takeout? Does it apply to wholesale? What about the businesses that service the military who was not shut down?
Right.
If we had an opportunity to perhaps raise these concerns prior to those executive orders being issued, then we could help allay sort of the panic and the influx of questions and confusion that ensued after.
Are you?
So, I mean, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, she did yesterday agree to that, and asked that if because things are happening so quickly, that if we're given the opportunity to review it, to just be timely in our responses. And I think all of us are appreciative of that.
So were you able to speak at all?
I'm trying to remember things. She didn't have a lot of time. we weren't. I don't recall us being able to speak too much while she was in the room, but after she left, we continued our discussions, and were assured by Ken and David that they would, and as well Ricky. Ricky was there as well. That whatever concerns we brought up, that they would continue to relay to the governor. And so there's supposed to be another meeting called in the next week or so, so that we can have continuous dialogue.
Well,
Do you know who her economic advisors are?
I do not.
It's a big secret, apparently, because when I asked for some names, I didn't get any names.
And this was the first time the chamber's had any sort of communication with the governor?
Yes.
Since
Yes.
Oh.
Wow, those.
So I'm not, like I said.
Maybe it's social distancing, Christine, is what it is. Maybe they're just doing that, doing extra social distancing measures with the Chamber of Commerce.
I think sometimes the Guam Chamber of Commerce is not the most loved and appreciated.
I know. What did you guys do? My gosh.
It's the BPT thing. I don't know.
I just took over in January, so I'm not sure if there was something that happened prior to my time.
I think there was something that happened that hit very close to home for the governor, and I think that it's on you to kind of impress upon her that maybe you didn't have anything to do with anything that happened before January.
Well, I mean, definitely we've tried, and we've also tried to be very respectful and communicate our concerns without. I think sometimes we get caught up in letter writings and releases to the media of being real negative and just pointing out everything that is wrong. But our goal is to really focus on employees and businesses, and to kind of be that voice for them, and ask that consideration be given. Everything's happening so fast. We have so many things going on, but, we want to just make sure that that's at the back of everyone's mind until we can bring it to the forefront, that there's people already hurting. There's people that have already lost their jobs and not going to get a paycheck. There's businesses shutting down, even prior to this, and may not reopen. And so, like I've expressed to some of the senators, and it's not just the administration, but we've talked to senators and said, look, guys, unemployment is appreciated, but you need to figure out something to give to businesses so that these employees have a job to return to. Yeah,
Christine. So has there been any revisiting of the governor's team initiative? And I think there was something like, you guys can pay 40% of your BPT stretched over 3 months during a full moon on a Tuesday.
Well, I think some people will take advantage of deferment. I think that it needs to go a little bit longer than 3 months, because right now we don't see that within 3 months, businesses are going to recover. And so, there's someone remarked yesterday, 40% deferment of zero in the last few weeks is zero, so they're not going to have taxes to pay. There's no business really happening for most of the industries, and there's not employees working. So, there definitely is going to be a reduction in collections for the government from businesses and from employees that, is necessitated, of course, because we are in a public health crisis. But we need something a little bit more, because that's not going to help a vast majority of businesses that are looking to stay open and bring employees back after this crisis is done.
Christine, how important is it for the governor? And again, I don't know if maybe it slipped Ricky's mind or the governor's mind to tell us who's kind of her economic advisors, but how important is it for her to hear from people in businesses that are maybe an arm's length away from what she and the family got going on, because that kind of seems to be the problem, is that she's not hearing those voices from people outside that sphere of influence that she's involved in.
Well, I think the group yesterday is a start, but I definitely think that the more people that speak to the concerns that are going on. I think anyone in any kind of position is they benefit from it, because then you can make decisions, and it doesn't mean that you're going to take that advice or that you're going to change what your decision is, but to at least understand it and be able to respond to it, I think is important. I mean, we're in a public health crisis. Everybody realizes that, but you need to have that communication with the business community and hear what they're going through and be able to respond to that, because again, when you ask them to hold on and they've already shut down, or there's no way they can.
They're holding on to nothing is what they're holding on to. There's nothing to hold on to.
That's the concern, and maybe they don't know that. Maybe they don't know how dire.
And maybe they don't know that because they're not talking to people outside of the circle that they're in. Sorry, kind of common sense.
You got to figure out a way to get in that circle.
You got to get in.
Christine.
You're not in, Christine. That's the problem. We built this whole thing on people being in. And if you're not in, then you're out. And it kind of sounds like you're out.
Well, we're hoping to get in.
Yeah.
We've been invited in. We were part of the discussion yesterday. And
right.
So, I mean, if it's not me, then anybody on our executive committee. It doesn't need to be me,
right,
but
yeah.
or anybody in who represents small business. That's the group that I was at Carmen's the night that they closed, talking to the employees, and I mean, it was just heart-wrenching. Those people lost their jobs, and that business could not survive past the implementation of that minimum wage increase. And I go out in the community. I'm at church, and people come up to me, and they're like, my hours were reduced. And again, this was before the shutdown, and so it really affects you to hear their story and to feel for these people. And so those are the ones. I think that the Guam Chamber is sometimes seen as just this faceless organization that represents all these big businesses, and that's all we care about is the bottom line.
And I think, Christina, to be fair on you guys' part, maybe there needs to be kind of maybe a new public relations approach where you show people that, yeah, it's not because, and I don't know what it is, but people kind of have that in the back of their head. They're like, oh, the big bad chamber represents all the big businesses. But I mean, maybe you kind of need to tell the stories of the people who are affected by this.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. That's something I hope that folks are starting to see is we're really trying to communicate who we represent. We're trying to improve our public relations, if you will. We have some people on our board that we've asked advice and guidance on so that we could change that whole perception, because really 70% of our membership is small businesses. I mean, they make up the majority, and they have the loudest voice actually on that chamber. Even among our board of directors, there's a great number of people that represent small business. Mika from Infusion, you've got Jessica Barrett from Barrett Plumbing. We've got a lot of small business representation on them, and so the dynamics of the chamber has changed greatly. But we're again predominantly small business is our makeup.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to keep track because I know that you guys have been writing the governor suggestions on how to deal with the economic crisis that we're experiencing. Have any of the suggestions you guys have forwarded been actually adopted?
No, I think she's been pretty clear from the get-go that with respect to the reduction of the BPT, that she was not. It's not even under consideration.
Right.
BPT forever was, I think, the quote.
Yeah. So we have thrown out there. Can you meet us halfway? Can we do a 0.5? Because the private sector is already suffering. The government. I mean, I guess from our perspective, the more that businesses close and are not able to recover from this, the less the government's going to get in the long run. So the 5% is not going to make a big difference
Yeah.
because you got 5% or 1% more of nothing, and
Yeah.
so that message, I think, I don't know who her advisors are, but she's been adamant that that's not on the table. We've gotten a lot more, I guess, openness with some of the senators in the last few weeks, and so we just sent a letter to Speaker Barnes yesterday asking again that the legislature consider the reduction. We're aware there's a couple of bills that have been submitted, one from Senator Moylan and I believe one from Senator Titagui that calls for the rollback of 1% of the BPT. So we're hoping that gets traction in the legislature and that
What legislature? There's no legislature right now. They're on postponement until further notice. And I got word, Christine, just to kind of loop you in, that what we're hearing is that the rules and the legal questions are too great to deal with. And I'm hearing it would take like months to even figure out how these guys can have session.
Ooh. Okay.
I mean, but we'll see. That's what I'm told, is that in looking at the rules and the ways that they can all speak at the same time, because it's not going to be like Zoom. You can't be muting senators' mics, So that's what I heard from someone, was that it's going to be months to even kind of dive into legally what the senators are able to do, how they're able to meet. But it's interesting because I don't think it's taken months for I think there's a couple legislatures that have figured it out, and maybe we just can't figure it out.
Wow. Yeah, that's news. Yes, as of yesterday, I was told that they were trying to consider how to do it through like the teleconference or to have session, but implement further distancing with
and that's what I think they're trying to go for, Christine. I don't want to tell you it's just going to be months period, but for them to do like a teleconferencing thing, what I'm hearing is that that's such a ginormous legal question that it's going to take months to even untangle that. But I also did hear that they're trying to figure out how to go into session in PPEs or
Yes, they might just have to do that.
They should be doing that already. It's ridiculous, man. I mean, this is not. I don't get it. I don't understand why. And I know Senator Therese Terlahi, Senator Tello Titagui, Senator Jim Moylan have all said, hey, we need to get into session. So we don't know, what the holdup is. But like I said the other day, imagine if the governor was just like, I'm just going to postpone until further notice. Mm-hmm. I mean,
we're here. We're taking every extra precaution. I've got my, hand sanitizer, everything wiped down, everything here. Our guys got their masks on.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's an election year, senators, in case you forgot.
Okay, let's Christine.
Right, yeah. Sorry, Christine.
Proceed.
Yeah.
I mean, are we ever going to get another call with you after this?
Why, sure.
I know. No, Christine, and really we just however you guys feel.
She's frustrated.
She's frustrated. No matter how you feel about the Chamber of Commerce, I mean, every voice needs to be heard, and you can't just listen to the voices that you're affiliated with. And I think that's the biggest problem, and that's all we're advocating for, Christine. I mean, we all have our personal thoughts about how things should be done, but at the end of the day, especially at a time like this, they need to fold in the people most impacted by the COVID-19 crisis.
And like you said, 70% of your membership is small businesses.
Yeah. We definitely feel for you.
Like I said, I mean, it's sometimes to just say 70% of small businesses, but let's talk about each of those businesses that employ people that may not make it through this crisis, and that's really where it's at. That's what we need to address.
Right. Definitely. I mean, there was a petition that's going around yesterday, Christine. I don't know if you saw it, but it was a petition being circulated by people who have been directly affected by this COVID-19 crisis, people who have lost their jobs, people who are dealing with reduction of hours, and they're circulating this thing asking for a different variety of payments to put a moratorium on that. So, yeah, definitely. We know that people are suffering, but I guess it's on, the governor to whether or not she's going to acknowledge that and what we're going to do now, and not just pass it off to the feds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So what can you do? What are you telling chamber members? You know, for the most part, since you guys don't necessarily have a seat at the table or really a voice. So what's the plan for the chamber?
So what we've been doing is disseminating information. So as we are aware of what is available as far as like the loans or any relief package, we put the information out and we make sure they're aware it's there. We also have been helping chamber members who are open and have like their takeout specials or whatnot. We're putting that out and asking folks to support, these businesses, and with still being safe, mind you, but to support these businesses that have been able to continue on with at least like takeout service. And so, I mean, we really become just a funnel to get information out, so that if there's something these guys can take advantage of, then they will. Sometimes, I mean, we're there for them. They call into the office. Catherine, our president, shares some of the stories of people calling in and just venting about, what their situation is and what their concern is. And so, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
Well, information is the new currency, apparently, and that we're seeing that. We're all just kind of waiting for this federal stuff to, be finalized. So, Christine, again, if you're getting hassled, they don't want to let you in the meeting, call us up and let us know, and we'll put it out there.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Okay, be safe.
Yeah, God bless you, and wash your hands. Okay.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Christine Boleto, the Guam Chamber.